Shannon Denise Melendi was a 19-year-old student at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. She was born on October 20th, 1974, in Miami, Florida, to Luis and Yvonne Melendi. The couple had 2 daughters. Shannon was the older one. Her younger sister was named Monique. In Miami, before going off to college in Atlanta, Shannon seemed like the last person you'd expect to have something terrible happen to her. At Southwest High School, she was president of the junior and senior classes. She was a champion orator who captained the debate team for 3 years. She was an athlete. She was in the National Honor Society. She graduated cum laude in the top 3% of her class. She was a member of the Legal Eagles Club because she wanted to become an attorney. Her ultimate goal was to sit on the Supreme Court. During her senior year, Shannon spoke before the United Nations and the U.S. Congress. There was no stopping her, it seemed. Her political science teacher and soccer coach at Southwest, Angel Menendez, knew this. He wrote a letter about her that said, "In a way, Shannon's high school years were a preview of what was to come in her adult life." Standing in Congress as a student representative, addressing the student delegates in the General Assembly Hall of the United Nations, or arguing her case as a student attorney at the Dade County Mock Trials competition, all were unique previews of what life lay in store for her. Upon graduation from Southwest, Shannon was accepted by Georgetown and American universities, but Emory in Atlanta gave her the better option, a $15,000 a year grant for 4 years. She would major in political science and Spanish. After completing her degree, she would join the Navy and attend law school. She planned to retire as a naval commander, which would place her in Washington for her next few goals, politics and the highest bench in the country. Shannon's favorite song was Forever Young by Alphaville. To Luis Melendi, her father, who was a professional photographer, she will always be 19. That's because Shannon Melendi disappeared on March 26, 1994. She was working a part-time job at the Softball Country Club in Atlanta, keeping score at one of the games. There were at least 1,000 spectators on the field that day. It was a Saturday. Around noon, Shannon took a lunch break. With chilling irony, even her score pad vanished. No one seemed to know what happened. The next morning, Shannon's roommate became concerned when she didn't return home. The roommate went out looking for her and found Shannon's black Nissan abandoned at a Citgo gas station across from the softball club. The doors were unlocked. The keys were still in the ignition. The alarm was off. The roommate called the police. The first officers on the scene told her to drive the car back to school. They didn't dust for fingerprints. They didn't search for trace evidence. The DeKalb County Police were just sitting around, thinking she was a runaway. On Sunday, the day after Shannon's car was found, police discovered the body of another missing college student 30 miles north of Atlanta. Claudette Jennifer Fishik, 19, who attended Southern College of Technology, had disappeared on February 16th near Marietta. Her badly decomposed body was found in the Oconee River. An autopsy was performed on Tuesday. Police had no suspects. Detectives denied any connection to Shannon's case, saying the only known similarities were that both were female, age 19, and attending college. Luis Melendi contacted former President Jimmy Carter through a church friend. Shannon had been the only freshman ever hired by the Jimmy Carter Center. Carter was one of the key people to get the investigation rolling. Senator Bob Graham got the FBI involved within 48 hours. Luis Melendi also contacted baseball player Bo Jackson through a church friend and actor Andy Garcia, who was a friend of the family. Both taped public service announcements, which were aired throughout the nation. The first 10,000 posters that went up in Atlanta with Shannon's picture said missing. Not long after that, Luis Melendi changed the sign to kidnapped. The parents knew this from the start. One individual surfaces in the minds of many, and in all the reports of the Miami and Atlanta media. Colvin Butch Hinton, an umpire at the Softball Country Club, emerges as the last probable person to have seen Shannon that day. Hinton was officiating in Field 1, the same as Shannon. When Shannon took her lunch break that day at noon, Hinton also left the field. According to police reports, he told the owner of the club the day before that he would have to leave early the next day because he had a family problem to resolve. According to the investigation, there were no family problems. Hinton was seen later that afternoon back at the parking lot of the country club. A couple of weeks after Shannon's disappearance, an unidentified male voice phoned the Emory hotline to say that he had Shannon. He said she was all right, but that she felt lonely. To prove it, He would leave one of her rings in a telephone booth outside a Burger King in Rex, Georgia. The ring was identified by the family as belonging to Shannon. There was no recording device at the hotline at Emory University where the kidnapper called. If that voice had been recorded, the case would have been closed much sooner. But here is yet another major setback. The Softball Country Club works on weekends. The weekend following Shannon's disappearance was Easter weekend, so they let 2 weeks go by without questioning people. They should have started looking at the employee records first, but they decided to look at everyone who was there, which was about 1,000 people. Investigative reporter Steve Daniels from NBC6 was relentless in his pursuit of Butch Hinton's past. Daniels tracked Hinton to Illinois and Kentucky, where he committed his first crime at age 16, assaulting a young woman while working at Mr. D's Pizza in 1977. From Kentucky, the family moved to Neponset, Illinois, where Hinton kidnapped 14-year-old Tammy Singleton, tied her up in his basement, and tried to attack her when his first wife walked in and heard the girl screaming. Daniels also obtained an account of Hinton's attack on a member of his extended family, whom he also abducted and repeatedly assaulted. For the Kentucky attack, since he was a minor, Hinton was let off easy and ordered to receive counseling. He served only 2 years for the assault on Singleton. The family case, however, was swept under the rug. When Hinton kidnapped Tammy Singleton and tied her up in his basement, he told Tammy that if she didn't cooperate, he would do to her like he did the others. Tammy was able to escape after Hinton's wife went down into the basement and saw Tammy tied up. According to Tammy, his wife chastised Hinton in front of her, telling him that he had a problem and needed help. Tammy said that his wife said all this in a way that indicated this wasn't the first time she had caught him doing something like this before. How is it possible that no one knew that someone with a 3-time record of kidnapping, assault, and rape was working at a place filled with young women and children? A few months after Shannon disappeared, Hinton was teaching Sunday school to children at his church. Then he was working at a McDonald's, where kids go. Then there's a police report where he assaulted a 19-year-old African-American woman named Della Lorraine Cogburn, who worked with him at the McDonald's. The police report, from Jonesboro, Georgia, is dated January 27, 1995. It states Hinton attacked Cogburn at about 8 p.m. across from the fast food restaurant as she walked the dark trail to her home. In the months following Shannon's disappearance, Hinton's home was searched several times. There were no signs of Shannon anywhere. However, women's clothes and shoes were found buried in his backyard. None of them belonged to Shannon. The women's clothes and shoes were in a variety of sizes, none of which would have fit Hinton's current wife. 6 months after Shannon's disappearance, Hinton's house burned down. Authorities said that he set the fire on purpose to destroy any evidence that might connect him to Shannon, but he blamed it on a faulty vacuum cleaner. In April 1995, Hinton was convicted of arson and fraud and sentenced to federal prison. Meanwhile, the Melendis have been on the media circuit for years. The case has been featured on Oprah, twice on Maury Povich, twice on Inside Edition, 5 times on America's Most Wanted, Sábado Gigante, and on The Jaime Bailey Show, a Spanish-language program aired by satellite to every Spanish-speaking country in the world. As Yvonne Melendi said, the Luis and Yvonne Melendi who appear on TV are not the Luis and Yvonne Melendi who live in this house. Luis Melendi was offering a gift of $10,000 to anyone, including the inmates at the federal prison in Butner, North Carolina, where Hinton was serving his sentence, for any information leading to the recovery of Shannon's remains. In Miami, the Dade County Commission unanimously approved naming Southwest 48th Street from 87th to 107th Avenue as Shannon Melendi Drive. On that day, students at Southwest High plastered the area with posters of Shannon. The school also retired her soccer jersey, which bore the number 19. No one will wear it again. After Hinton was released from prison in late 2003, investigators zeroed in on him again, charging him with Shannon's kidnapping and murder in August 2004. This was because of new evidence they had collected, including alleged confessions Hinton made to several inmates while in federal prison. Monday, August 30th, 2004, Colvin Butch Hinton was indicted by a grand jury with the murder of Shannon Melendi. The trial began on Monday, August 22nd, 2005, and ended Monday, September 19th. After 3 days, 9 hours of jury deliberation, the verdict was guilty on malice murder and felony murder. The sentence was life in prison, but with parole. Hinton was the first person in Georgia history to be convicted of murder without a body or a crime scene. He appealed the verdict but was denied by the Georgia Supreme Court. On July 17, 2006, he confessed to how he kidnapped, brutally assaulted, and murdered Shannon. According to Hinton's confession, he invited Shannon to get lunch with him at the Burger King following the softball game. She accepted. Then he kidnapped her at knife point while she was driving his car. Hinton claimed he had a leg cramp and couldn't drive, which was just a ruse. After Hinton had already kidnapped Shannon, he went back to get her car, and he's the one who left it at the gas station, hoping that if he left it unlocked with the keys in the ignition, someone would steal it and throw law enforcement off in their investigation. Hinton took Shannon back to his house. He kept her tied up in his basement. He sexually assaulted Shannon at knife point twice. He kept her there for 12 hours. According to his confession, Shannon remained calm the entire time. She never screamed or fought back. She didn't try to scratch him or hit him. He kept telling her that as soon as he got rid of her car, he would let her go, and she kept saying, "All right." But Hinton was lying. After he assaulted Shannon, he handcuffed her to a bedpost, then he strangled her with a necktie. Hinton said that he burned her body in his backyard and scattered the ashes. Neighbors had noticed over the years that Hinton spent a lot of time around his fire pit. Shannon Melendi's remains have never been found. Each time Hinton goes for a hearing before the parole board, they look at his file. Letters and petitions asking not to release him help keep him where he belongs. Hinton remains eligible for periodic parole hearings under Georgia law. Yvonne Melendi died in May 2020 from COVID-related pneumonia. She spent 26 years fighting for her daughter. She died never knowing where Shannon's remains were, never able to bury her daughter. Louise Melendi continues the fight. So does Shannon's sister, Monique. As Louise Melendi says, "I'm not blaming Atlanta for this. I'm not blaming Emory for this. It could happen to anyone, anywhere." The account of Shannon's disappearance took 12 years to settle. A mother, a father, a family, and a community struggled to become whole. The failure to find Shannon or her abductor for so long pointed to a break in the very fiber of society. To Louise Melendi, Shannon will always be 19, forever young. Shannon Melendi would be 50 years old now. She might have been a Supreme Court justice. She might have been a naval commander. She might have even changed laws that protected other young women from predators like Butch Hinton. Instead, she's frozen in the photographs her father took. The bright girl who went to work one Saturday and never came home. If this case affected you the way it affected me, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next case. More importantly, if you want to help the Melendi family keep Butch Hinton behind bars, you can write to the Georgia State Board of Pardons and Paroles. I'll leave information in the description below. Every letter in his file makes a difference when he comes up for parole hearings. Shannon's story needs to be remembered. Her family deserves justice, and other families deserve to be protected from predators like Hinton. Share this video. Let people know what happened to Shannon Melendi, because, as her father Luis says, it could happen to anyone, anywhere. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.